If you can't even do household chores properly, get out of here now. Being forced to sit, I had no choice but to endure my mother-in-law's harsh criticism. My mother-in-law looked at me in a very strict way. James and I will be here for our mom, so we don't need you. All you do is look tired and complain all the time, despite just being a freeloader. Even Linda, my sister-in-law, who never helps with household chores, would say something similar in a cold way. Wait a minute, James, your mother and your sister are being too terrible. I've been trying my best. I sought help from James, but he blamed me too.
Mom and Linda are right. I don't need a wife who doesn't do household chores. I've gotten close to a new part-timer recently. I don't need you anymore, so pack your things and leave.
Shocked by those words, I was at a loss of words. The three of them cursed at me, saying, "Get out," and "useless wife." While hearing that, I clenched my fists. After using me like that for so long, they dared to throw such words at me. I'll get my revenge. But keeping my composure, I turned to the three of them and said, "Is that so? I understand, I'll leave." The family who always put their burdens on me, their downfall will begin now. My name is Emily. I am 32 years old, working for a company while also being a housewife. Nowadays, many women continues to work even after getting married. I also love my job and have been with the company I joined after graduating from university. One morning while preparing for work, James approached me.
Hey Emily, can you do this for me? Tax season is coming up.
What James handed over was a bunch of receipts and invoices. Again, the documents for your shop? It's your shop, so why don't you do it yourself? I warned him in a serious tone, and James avoided my eyes and continued.
You know, I'm not good at this kind of thing, right? Please, help.
James and I have been married for 5 years. I used to frequently go to a restaurant where James worked. We got to know each other there. And after several dates, we got married. James now runs a cafe, which was his longtime dream, but he throws all the tedious work like inventory checks, paperwork, and accounting onto me. As I reluctantly headed to the entrance, this time my mother-in-law Kriya spoke up. "Emily dear, I'd like Chinese food tonight." "All right, could you please go for groceries?" "Why? You should just come home early and go. Also, Linda and her kids are coming this weekend, so please, prepare meals for the kids too." Okay. Feeling that if I talked more I might be burdened with more tasks, I nodded at my mother-in-law's words and quickly left the house. I hoped to live just with James after marrying him, but James suggested,
My dad has passed away and my sister got married. I'm worried about leaving Mom alone. Since our family home is big, let's live there.
As a result, we began living with my mother-in-law in James's family home. But she's not good at household chores. The state of the house when we first moved in was quite shocking. After my father-in-law passed away, she lived on a pension, which she often spent on eating out because she was too lazy to cook. James says,
Housework is a woman's job.
It doesn't help at all, so I have to do all the household chores while working. In addition, almost every week, Linda, my sister-in-law, brings her kids. Every time that happens, my workload doubles, so when I heard they're coming this weekend, I let out a huge sigh. And that depressing weekend arrived. I wanted to relax on my days off, but Linda asked me to play with her kids and also prepare meals. While I was busy, Linda told me something unexpected. "By the way, Emily, I'm getting a divorce. I'm going to live here with the kids from next month." "What?" "What? Is there an issue?" "No, that's not it. That must have been tough. When did you plan to move in?" "I want it to be as soon as possible." Living with my sister-in-law and her children is about to begin. I was surprised for a moment, but I quickly changed my mind. Since my sister-in-law had been a housewife until now, she will probably help out with the household chores. That should lighten my burden a bit. Although I'm not particularly close with my sister-in-law, I tried to see the bright side and go about my day. However, I soon realized that I was being naive. Like my mother-in-law, my sister-in-law does nothing. She's either sleeping, eating, or watching TV. She neither does household chores nor do any work. It seems the main reason for her divorce was that she didn't do any housework. Now I have to take care of everything, from household chores to preparing meals and making her children's favorite meals, and even preparing her kids for kindergarten. After a while, I got busy with a new project at work, and the amount of overtime and early shifts increased. As a result, the house became increasingly messy. Coming home to a cluttered mess was truly disheartening. On top of that, all of them started to complain about the meals not being ready or being too late. Moreover, because I was too busy to keep up with housework, my mother-in-law and sister-in-law started to criticize me.
Emily, the laundry is piling up. Just because you're working doesn't mean you can slack off.
I'm sorry, but I'm too busy with work to do any housework. When I tried to argue, my sister-in-law immediately interjected.
Oh, Emily, standing up to your mother-in-law? You're brave. And you've been buying supermarket ready-made meals recently, haven't you? That's not good for the kids.
But Linda, if you're at home during the day, I wish you could help out a bit.
How selfish. James runs his own business, so you don't need to work. If you're working by choice, then you should handle the housework perfectly. It's unbelievable that you'd make Linda help.
I was stunned and at a loss for words, but the two of them looked at me as if it was only natural for them to say those things to me. That night, having reached the end of my patience, I discussed to James about it. I'm too busy with work to manage household chores. I wish your mother and sister could help out a bit.
You're not seriously thinking of leaving household chores to my mom and sister, are you?
He glared at me as he said this. I couldn't hide my surprise and responded, Of course not, but it's really hard for me to manage everything on my own. At the very least, I wish you could help.
I'm busy. Running a shop is not the same as being an office worker. You probably can't understand the difficulties of managing a business. Household chores are a wife's responsibility, not a husband's job.
But I can't handle it anymore. All he did was just went to sleep, and I was left alone with my frustration. However, I soon had a great idea. I believed this would be a good solution. I quickly took out my smartphone and ordered several items online, then went to sleep. A few days later, the new appliances arrived: a fully automatic washer-dryer, a cleaning robot, and a dishwasher. If no one would help, I decided to at least get devices to reduce the household burden. While the technician was installing the dishwasher, I heard my mother-in-law and sister-in-law.
When did you decide to buy a new washing machine? What a waste when the old one still works.
But Kriya, that washing machine was old, and with this one, you can wash and dry at the same time, making laundry much easier.
What's this? All new appliances, a cleaning robot, and a dishwasher? Emily, come to my room.
As I entered the room as instructed by Kriya, both Kriya and Linda were sitting side by side, ordering me to sit. To my surprise, James was also there, sitting arrogantly next to Kriya. May I help you? When I asked, my mother-in-law screamed at the top of her lungs.
What do you mean, buying all these expensive appliances just to slack off? What were you thinking?
I wasn't trying to slack off. I just thought it would be nice if household chores could be a little bit more efficient.
Efficient? That's just an excuse for being lazy. People nowadays rely too much on machines. It's frustrating.
My sister-in-law also interrupted the conversation.
Really, Emily? You even bought these luxurious items. The appliances at home were still usable. Just because James does his own business doesn't mean you can be extravagant. My sister-in-law glared at me with a cold look, and next to her, James nodded in agreement. But, You're so lazy and it's really infuriating. Why can't you just handle the household chores properly?
Although I kept quiet at my sister-in-law's words, deep down I didn't want to be scolded by her. Annoyed by my silence, my mother-in-law raised her voice.
If you can't even do basic household chores, then get out of here.
Shocked by her words, I looked towards my mother-in-law. My mother-in-law is looking at me with a cold, strict look.
James and I will be there for our mother, so we don't need you. You always have a tired look on your face and do nothing but complain, you freeloader.
My sister-in-law said that with a sigh. Hey, wait, James. Both what Linda and Kriya said is too harsh. I've been trying so hard all this time. I looked to James for his support, but he too criticized me.
What my mom and sister say is right. We don't need a wife who can't even do household chores properly.
I was taken aback and stared at James, but he continued with a smirk.
I own a business, so I can decide how to spend my money. I don't need a wife who uses it for her own pleasure and buys whatever she wants.
Why would you say that?
Plus, right now, things are going well with a new part-time girl that I've been seeing. Unlike you, she's cute and straightforward. I don't need a gloomy person like you anymore. Pack up and leave.
Shocked by his words, I was at a loss for words. The three of them looked down on me, saying, "Get out, and useless wife." Hearing their words, I looked down and clenched my fists tightly. After using me for so long, how dare they say such things like that? I'll get back at them and drag them to hell. However, I didn't let out my honest feelings and addressed the three of them. Is that so? Understood. I'll leave.
Finally got it, huh? It'll be so refreshing without the useless wife around.
I stood up without a word and placed something I took from the living room drawer on the table. James, let's get a divorce. It was the already signed divorce papers. Exhausted, I had prepared the divorce papers as my last resort.
So you had this prepared? Well, fine. I'll sign it right away. It won't matter to me even if you regret it later.
James signed the divorce form with a smug smile. I quickly packed my things, clutching the divorce papers, and moved to an apartment that same day. Not one showed up to see me off as I left the front door. Later on, I submitted the divorce papers immediately and rented a new apartment under my name. Around the same time as the divorce, I accepted a promotion I had declined due to household reasons, and was finally promoted to section chief. Achieving the promotion I had dreamed of, I became more dedicated to my work. My work went on, uninterrupted by anyone. It was more than satisfying and comforting. I think it was about a week after I left that house. I saw several missed calls from my ex-mother-in-law on my call history. But I was busy with work, and above all, I didn't want to deal with those who had insulted me. So I kept ignoring the calls from my ex-mother-in-law. Then, a year passed. On a day off while relaxing at home, I received another call from my ex-mother-in-law. I thought maybe it's time to settle this issue and decided to answer the call. Hello? What's up?
Oh, Emily, you finally picked up. Ignoring me for over a year, how cruel.
What do you want?
Well, how are you doing lately? How's everything?
I replied nonchalantly to my ex-mother-in-law's probing voice. I'm living in my own apartment now. Got a promotion, a raise, and everything is going smoothly.
Oh, that's good to hear. By the way, would you consider coming back and living with us again?
With her sweet tone of voice, I cautiously asked, why now?
We're running out of money, so could you come back?
With a smirk, I said, oh, I heard James's cafe only made a profit of about $1,000, and neither you nor your daughter is working, so it's no surprise.
You knew about it?
Actually, the cafe James runs only made about $700 a month. I was in charge of accounting, so I knew. However, James wasn't aware of this since he was just acting almighty without doing any actual work. Of course I did. He pushed all the accounting and procurement onto me.
I had no idea. I didn't even know you were contributing so much to the household and you're a manager at a major company?
Yes, I was putting in over $3,000 a month for living expenses. That's how I supported everyone's lifestyle. In reality, since the cafe's sales were almost non-existent, I was mainly supporting the family with my salary. After I left, it seemed James realized they couldn't live without my income.
Emily, can you come back to us?
By the way, how's James's cafe doing? Ignoring her plea, I asked.
His cafe might have to close next month. All the part-time workers have quit too.
Well, that's something I expected. With such careless management, it's impossible to keep a business going. Besides, with his high pride and lack of work ethic, no woman would ever want to be his partner. As I chuckled, my ex-mother-in-law was at a loss for words. Anyway, I have things to do. But she quickly continued after saying,
After you left, Emily, the house has been a total mess.
What do you mean by a mess? According to my ex-mother-in-law, the house has been in chaos since the person who used to do all the house chores left. My sister-in-law has kids, and since no one is tidying up, the house is always in a huge mess. No one cooks, so they have no choice but to eat out, which is also expensive. They also said that the washing machine is broken, but they don't have the money to buy a new one.
If only you had left your appliances, things might have been a little better.
My ex-mother-in-law muttered. What are you talking about? You said those appliances were for lazy people and you didn't like them, right? And what's wrong with me taking what I bought with my own money?
I might have spoken too harshly, but I never imagined that things would become like this just because the person doing the chores left.
I argued back to my ex-mother-in-law, who was quite upset. Why can't you three adults handle the housework? What are your elder daughter and James doing? She said in a quiet voice.
The thing is, since one of the part-time workers quit and James found out about the state of the business, he's been in a bad mood and doesn't do anything. He just lazes around at home all day.
I see. He did say that as a business owner, he had the freedom to spend his money.
On top of that, Linda refuses to work no matter how much I ask. She doesn't do any housework, and she even begs me for money for her and for her kids' allowance. My pension will run out soon.
Really? Your daughter once told me that you all don't need me. I said that coldly to her, and my ex-mother-in-law began to beg me.
Please, can you help us? We're struggling. My pension isn't enough.
Sorry, but I have no intention of returning back to that house, and your son and daughter seems to be very lazy. My ex-mother-in-law was at a loss for words. Just as I was about to hang up, she pleaded desperately.
Emily, we've reflected on our mistakes. Please, come back. Let's live happily together again, okay?
Do you think you can live happily with a useless daughter-in-law? Even though she was taken aback, my ex-mother-in-law still tried to persuade me.
Please, we're begging you. We're not a family without you. If things continue like this, we won't be able to pay the property tax and we'll have to give up our house.
I have no obligation or any love to help you all out. Please solve your problems on your own. After all, I'm a useless daughter-in-law. Goodbye. Ignoring my ex-mother-in-law yelling on the other side of the phone, I hung up the phone and blocked her number. Relaxing in a clean room with a cup of coffee, I smiled. 3 months passed. I happened to pass by the cafe James used to run and saw that it was now vacant. It seemed he had really closed his shop. When I checked their house, a sold sign was up. According to a neighbor I happened to meet, the three of them sold the house in a rush and are now living in a cramped apartment nearby, leading a poor life. Loud voices of their constant arguments were heard, and unpleasant smells of trash have led to continuous complaints from their neighbors. It's just like what they'd do to not try to improve their situation at all, even after being in such circumstances. I looked at my ex-in-law's house emotionlessly and left. I've been working hard ever since. Recently, a trustworthy colleague confessed that he admires my hard work. We've started dating with marriage in mind. Maybe I'll remarry soon. This time, I strongly hope to find true happiness.